Hello and welcome to the Boardgames Game Room. I'm Aaron as always, and obviously this is a channel where we like to talk about board games, but not a channel where we talk about video games, except I do actually play a lot of video games, not nearly as much as I used to. I used to be a much heavier player. I kind of fell out of it, and I'm getting back into it, but yeah, I do actually spend a fair bit of time playing around with video games and stuff, and even if you're not someone that plays video games, I think even as someone who plays board games, it is hard not to at least be tempted by or interested in a lot of the video game board games out there. I mean, not just ones that are designed specifically for video games, Mario parties and such and all that, but when they do like video game versions of board games, the fact that you can get Catan and all kinds of other ones on your phone or your iPad and stuff like that, and Tabletop Simulator and everything. They all seem like very convenient ways to possibly play it. They do allow for online access, which can allow you to play games, without people having to be in person and all that. They can be ways for you to play games that you just don't physically own. I know Tabletop Simulator has so many games on it, so it could be, a huge game collection just on your computer. So there are lots of cool benefits to them. And I'm not one who's, totally going to deny those look away. Which is why today I want to talk about, here I am trying to drop stuff. Which is why today I want to talk about the Clubhouse Games. Oh man, I should have already had this loaded. I'm such a loser. Here we go. The Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, made by Nintendo for Switch. I only recently bought it on my Switch 2, but yeah, this thing has supposedly 51 different games to play across it. And I thought I would sit here and I guess sort of go over them all real quick and rant a little for a while. Does that sound okay? Well, too bad. You're either still watching or you scrolled away. So if you're still here, let's go. So this is the main screen where you can select the games you want to play on here. We'll go forward just a little bit and show the little top left corner thing here, this little globe. This is basically where you can find other players to do some online stuff and all that. Otherwise, it has these built-in game guides, which seem kind of useless to me. They just each one has a set of games they kind of like. They make you pick one. That's what this next icon is. Halim here is the game guide guy I picked up. He likes traditional games or something like that, I think. I don't know. I think it had Moncala and some stuff in it. So I was like, sure, why not? I don't really understand the point of them. I guess if you need recommendations for games that are vaguely similar, that's sort of what they're about. But let's finally get into the games, because the next thing we have here, first up is Moncala. Moncala is one of my personal favorite abstract strategy games. I mean, it's a game I own. I have my beautiful board here that I absolutely love. And yeah, it's, for anyone who hasn't heard of Moncala, it's just, you have all these little pots that'll have stones in them. On your turn, you can take all of the stones out of one pot and then drop them one at a time going around the board. All of these games have some sort of assist feature in them that tends to make it a little easier to see what you're doing and all that, or tips and stuff, basically for people who are younger or not so good at the games. The game naturally already tells you how many stones are in each pot, which is kind of a necessity since you can't physically pull them out and count them like in a normal game. But with the assist on, it does this cool thing where it shows you exactly where the endpoint's going to be. I thought that was kind of neat. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's just Moncala and all that, two-player game. Next, we've got Dots and Boxes. For those who may not know what that one is, Dots and Boxes, make sure the sound's down, is where you play this game where you have a bunch of dots all over a piece of paper, and then you draw lines between them, and if anyone completes a square, then they end up getting to color it in. And you're trying to be the person who has the most squares colored in by the end of the game. Honestly, I never really was good at this game growing up. Never really liked it that much. And now that I'm older and playing it again, I don't really like it. I mean, I'm sure it's totally fine for kids. As an adult, when me and my wife played it, basically, we just both avoided closing in any squares until we absolutely had to. And then it was just whoever filled it in got a chain of filling in a bunch of them. We somehow, I guess, accidentally, and in some games I played against computers too, we kind of accidentally made these chunks of the board that were all sort of a big chain of squares here. So once you started filling in, you just sort of kept filling them in until that little chunk was done, and then you would sort of start the next section that your opponent would then get to fill all in. So there was always like 3 sections. It seems maybe there are people who way better than me who are good about keeping all those chunks small. Me and my wife, as well as me and the computer, ended up basically making 3 chunks, with one of them notably being smaller than the rest. So as player 1, I was always lucky enough to get to start the first chain, and then I would simply give player 2 the small chain, and then I would finish off with the other big chain and win each time. So I don't know if that's how it always is, but that's certainly my experience with it. Dots and boxes. Yeah. The next one is Yacht Dice. It's absolutely just their generic version of Yahtzee. That's all it really is. I don't really think there's anything different to it that I can think of, other than they didn't have 3 of a kind as an option. I'm pretty sure Yahtzee, one of the options for filling in dice is 3 of a kind. They didn't have that. They just had 4 of a kind, small straights, large straights, and then the yacht dice and all that. Otherwise, totally the exact same game. 4 in a row, which is just Connect 4. I don't know if I'm just bad at 4 in a row or what. Connect 4, I've always thought I was fine. I've never like lost the game regularly to people I've played with over the years. Not as though I've played the game much since I was a kid, but I've played it off and on here and there. And even with the lowest level computer, I really struggled on this one to get a win for some reason. Several games in a row. I didn't lose the game, but several games in a row was just a tie. We would just fill the entire thing. Anytime I got like a 4 about set up somewhere, they got me. I guess I was just doing a really bad job at setting up sort of those situations where you can't lose. And it finally took me several games before I set up a situation where I had 2 ways of winning, so they couldn't block both. So yeah, I think I might just be bad at this game. The next one is called Hit and Blow. I always knew this game as Mastermind growing up. It's simply where you have a hidden code hidden under here of various colors, and then you sit here and try and place out the colors here, and it is marked whether or not you got a color right but in the wrong spot, or a color right and in the correct spot. But they don't tell you exactly which ones are which, so you're stuck trying to kind of guess your way through it. I did think it was very interesting that this isn't just a one-player game. And even when you play it with more than one player, it's not just one player sets the code and then one player guesses. Because that's how I played it as a kid, just me and my brother. Instead, it had it where the players alternate. Since the computer will always set up the little secret code, players alternate placing pegs, guessing. And you're just trying to be the player that guesses right. So that's sort of a cool, like, semi-cooperative game. You are kind of working together to solve it all, but there is going to be a specific winner and all that. I thought that was a really cool take on this. The next one is Nine Men's Morris. This is a game I've definitely seen around throughout the years, but I have never played it until now. For anyone who is curious what Nine Men's Morris is, basically you have a bunch of marbles and a pretty cool looking board. I've always thought the boards for Nine Men's Morris were pretty neat. And you are simply taking turns placing your little marbles out onto the board in any of these spaces. And if anyone gets 3 in a row, that's called a mill. And whenever you mill, you get to remove one of your opponent's marbles. They're captured, taken off the board. And once all the marbles are placed, you will then start moving marbles around, following the lines on the board. And again, trying to repeat the process. Anytime you move a marble and then get a 3 in a row, kind of like it just showed you. Once you move a marble and it causes it, that'll let you remove one of your opponent's marbles and all that. I ended up having quite a bit of fun with this one. I think it's pretty cool. I do think it's pretty easy to kind of set up these situations where once you get it set up, you kind of move stuff back and forth and all that, and kill out your opponent pretty quick. I like the game. It was pretty neat. I'll definitely be back and playing this one fairly regularly. Next, we have this one called Hex. Hex is, I don't really know if this is one actually based on it. I mean, it must be based off of something. It's just a game I wasn't familiar with before this. For me, the closest I recognized it for was it was kind of like tack, but with these hex tiles. All you're doing is on your turn, you can tap any space, and it turns it your color, and you're trying to get a connected road from one side of the board to the other of your color. That's it. Super simple. I will say, the touch controls in that one are kind of hard because it's kind of small spaces to click. So when me and my wife were doing it, we kind of kept accidentally pressing the wrong spaces. And that's the top row. I'm going to change my hat and let's keep going with this. All right, let's keep all this going. For the start of this next row, we've got checkers. It's checkers. I'm sure you guys know what checkers is by now. If you don't, you move your pieces on these diagonal spaces. You try and jump over your opponents and capture all their pieces. If you get to the other side, you get to king them. There's really nothing special about it. It's just checkers. Personally, I don't like checkers. So I played it because I wanted to make sure I played every game on here at least once, and I'm probably not going to play it again. Next is Hare and Hounds. Now, this is, I've actually played this one a lot, but you're going to hear me be pretty negative about it. I'm sorry, my dog. Viggy. Alright, sorry about my dog there. So, yeah, in this game, basically one player controls these 3 hound pieces, and one player controls a little rabbit piece. And what you were trying to do is you were trying to, as the hare, you're simply trying to get past the hounds. Hounds can only move forward and sideways, so they can only progress down the board or go left and right. So if at any point the rabbit gets basically lined up with the last hound, there's no way the hounds can catch them, so the rabbit gets free and runs off. But if the hounds can manage to trap the rabbit where it can't move anywhere, then they win. The hare can move any direction. The way the game itself talks about this game, it talks about it like it's very rare for the hounds to win. Like hounds are the harder side to play. Not in my experience at all, actually. I'll be honest, I'm kind of confused how this is such a popular game, honestly, as far as I've heard. I know I've seen boards of it a lot, and the way it talks about it sounds like it was a hugely popular game in France back in the day, and that's why it's kind of known. I think I might know why I don't regularly see this game around anymore, because it kind of sucks. I think it's good for kids. I think kids, young kids, will have fun with it. It's very simple and entertaining enough, but as an adult, it was way too easy. I won with the hounds or lost with the hounds in kind of a way I couldn't seem to stop every time. Let me explain what that means. So basically, when I was playing against the computers, I could all the way up to impossible CPU. They have diff levels all the way up to the impossible level. I could not lose as the hounds in this game. I would progress forward in the same way every time, and even on the impossible level, the computer couldn't beat me. The final rules of the game are if you have 30 turns to capture them, and if in 30 turns the hounds don't capture the hare, then the hare wins. So I lose against my wife every time because we end up in this pattern where we're stuck just moving back and forth, just repeating the same steps. I move a dog over, she moves the hare, then I have to move the dog back, then she moves the hare. And as long as we keep moving between these, same space for me, same space for her, the game will just keep looping until 30 rounds hits and the hare wins. And we couldn't really find a way to avoid that. The only reason I couldn't lose with the hounds in the computer version was every time we got to that permanent loop that would always lead to the hare winning, the CPU, the AI, would eventually go, okay, I've done this same move several times, and it's not getting me out of here. And it would change its move to the wrong move, the move that absolutely leads to it losing. And that's the only reason I couldn't lose. I'd always end up in that loop, and then we'd do it a few times, and then the computer would go, okay, guess this isn't working, and it would make the wrong move, and I would win. Maybe there are big professional hare and hound players out there that, really know all the tactics and tricks and strategies, but for my experience at it with the computer and my friends and my wife, it seems almost solved. It seems really impossible for the hare to win, or again, if you're following the infinite loop, for the hounds to win, if you're making the right moves. So yeah, don't really care for this one. I think kids would really like it, but adults, I think it sucks, honestly. Next we have Gomoku. I believe this is just a variant of one of the mini games you can play with Go pieces and all that. Gomoku is one where you're basically trying to just get 5 in a row. You're placing out on the little lines, and first player to get 5 in a row wins. I don't think there's anything special to it and all that. I know a more traditional Go has a lot of trapping off pieces or something like that. I don't know, it seems like a lot too. I've never looked into it. This is a simplified, just trying to get 5 in a row on a big board. Good enough time. There's dominoes. There's not several games you can play with the dominoes. The only dominoes it has is, I guess it's just the one that my family called dominoes. I don't know. My family mostly plays Moon when it comes to dominoes. If you're not familiar with what Moon is, it's kind of like euchre. If you're not familiar with what euchre is, it's all just trick-taking stuff, guys. Dominoes is the one where you are placing out dominoes onto the table, where a number has to touch another matching number, so a 6 has to touch a 6. And at the end of every placing a domino out, you count the outer edge numbers on all the little lanes, usually 2, possibly up to 4 lanes of dominoes you've placed out. And if they add up into a multiple of 5, you score that many points. So let's say, for example, coming off of the double 6, there is the 6-2 and the 6-3 stretching out. So that means the 2 numbers at the end are 2 and 3. That adds up to 5. 5 points. There you go. So you get points based on if they're multiples of 5. Otherwise, you're simply trying to play out your whole hand of dominoes. First player plays out their whole hand, scores points based on whatever dominoes are left in other players' hands. I like dominoes a lot. So good little one here. It's nice that it kind of shows you which ones you can play, and you can kind of see what all they add up to pretty quickly. Next, we have Chinese checkers. Chinese checkers, for some reason you've never heard of it. You know, I'm sure I'll show the board and you'll recognize it. You're just trying to get all of your marbles across the board. My complaint with this one is, for some reason, they only allow it to be 3 players. You can't go more than 3 players. It's always these 3 colors, so if it's just you by yourself, you're playing against 2 computers, or if it's 2 players, you're playing against 1 computer. So it's always 3, never more, and you're just trying to make your way across the other side. I don't know if having more than 3 players are like offshoot rules that aren't common to the game. Every set of Chinese checkers I've ever seen or owned, you had colors for every little triangle off to the side of the star, so you could always play with up to 6 players. I don't know why they thought they couldn't program that into this, or just didn't want to. I really hate that it only goes to 3 players, but it's Chinese checkers. I like Chinese checkers fine. It's a good little time. Jump your marbles over, get across. Fun. Next one we have is Ludo. Ludo is fine. I'm more of a Parcheesi fan. I know they're all very similar. I grew up playing a lot of Wahoo, which are all, nonsense gobbledygook words. It's all basically the same game. My issue with this one is you only roll 1 dice. You don't roll 2 dice, which I don't know, again, if that's specific to Ludo. I don't personally have any experience with Ludo itself outside of this game. I've only played Parcheesi and Wahoo. And honestly, I haven't played Wahoo since I was like 8, maybe. It's been a very long time. But through my teen years, we owned a Parcheesi board and played a lot of that. In Parcheesi, you roll 2 dice, and you can like have 2 pieces share a space, and that shared space can then be like a wall that opponents can't pass. There's some safe spaces and all that. This doesn't really have any of that. You roll 1 dice, move a piece around the board, you try and get them into your home. You can only roll out with exactly a 6. Otherwise, you can't do anything. You can set a rule to where if you don't have any pieces out on the board, you just immediately get the placement out. That was kind of a cool extra rule you can do. But there's no safe spaces otherwise. And honestly, when we were playing the game, there's very rarely it felt like a lot of choice in the game. It seemed like most of the time you roll the die, you move your 1 piece, however many it says, and that's it. Because it didn't seem like it was that often that somebody rolled a 6 to get a piece out. Oh, by the way, when you roll a 6, you can either get a piece out or move, and you always get to roll again when you roll a 6. Because of that having to roll a 6, it would just seem like it was kind of rare to even have 2 pieces on the board. There wasn't a lot of choice happening in this game. But yeah, let's go on to the next one, which is backgammon. I like backgammon, all right. I used to not understand backgammon at all when I was younger, but funny enough, on another app on my phone here, had backgammon on it, and me and my wife started playing it kind of regularly when we go out to lunch. So eventually, when Yellow Mountain Imports had a sale on backgammon stuff, like Backgammon Day or whatever, I saw this like travel magnetic backgammon board, and we couldn't seem to. It was on discount, and I couldn't seem to pass it up. So yeah, now we have our own cool little backgammon board that we like to carry around with us. Yeah, it's backgammon. Backgammon's pretty fun. It's one of the classic race games. You are simply trying to race all of your pieces in a little U shape down and around the board to the other side. If you have multiple pieces, 2 or more on the same space, then they're safe. They can't be caught by your opponent. But any singles pieces can be landed on by your opponent and sent to the middle. It has to then, rework its way around the race. Rolling doubles lets you move some extra stuff. Yeah, classic, super cool, fun little game. I like backgammon. Backgammon's fun. Next, we've got Renegade. Renegade, I think this is one of those situations where they're changing the name for legal reasons, sort of like Yacht Dice. I've always known this as Reversey or Othello. I'll be honest, again, this is a game that I've seen forever. I've seen this game around my whole life, but I've never actually played the games these are based on at all. So this is my first experience with this one. But basically, one player's white, one player's black. You play down pieces in a way that flanks your opponent, and any pieces in between you and the piece you just played and the other flanking piece get flipped. So you're trying to have the most your color by the end. I'm really bad at this game. Like, really bad. I cannot beat the lowest level computer, which, by the way, they don't have easy mode on this. It's only normal. Normal is the lowest any computer level goes. I absolutely cannot beat them. I have played and played and played and played and played. I cannot beat them. I don't know the strategy per se. I don't know exactly what I'm doing wrong. But apparently I'm just really bad at Renegade, Reversey, Othello, whatever. But I like it. It's fun. I enjoy playing it with my wife, my friends. I don't think I'm going to play the computer anymore because I'm just going to get my butt beat. And last for this row, we've got chess. You guys know chess. Certainly you know chess. You can't not know chess. It's chess. Chess. All right, we are starting the third column here with 17 shogi. Shogi is sort of called Chinese chess, I believe. Oh, God, I hope I'm not getting that wrong and saying Chinese, but it should be Japanese. Basically, there are similar-ish pieces in that you are simply trying to capture your opponent's king piece and all that, but there are a lot different pieces as well. The things that are straight from chess, for the most part, pawns, rooks, bishops, kings, knights, those are all basically straight from chess, although they tend to have a little bit different movement. Like knights have that sort of similar little L movement thing, but they don't have the two variants on like 2 over 1 up or 1 over 2 up. It's all just 1 over 2 up for them, and they can't move backwards at all. Pawns don't have diagonal attacking. They only have straightforward marching. That's the only way they can move or attack. But then you have other ones like lancers, which are just pawns that can move any number of space forwards. You have silver generals, or something like that, silver and then gold. I don't know, it's called silver and gold, that have some various sort of kind of movements, only one space at a time, but a few more angles on how they can do it. So yeah, you're trying to capture base. The cool stuff about shogi I really like is in shogi, when you capture an opponent's piece, it's not just out of the game. You can actually put their piece back on the board as one of your pieces. I think that's super cool and all that. It's a really fun gimmick to the game and all that. Also, when pieces break the enemy line, like move far enough across the board, sort of like in chess when you get a pawn across, it can upgrade to a queen or whatever piece technically. Pieces upgrade, but they don't turn into any piece. Like every piece has its own upgraded form, which I think that's pretty cool. I like that, like, the pieces do up, they get to sort of get more powerful and all that. Again, I like the capturing. There's a lot of cool mechanics with shogi that I really like. I've actually found that it's a pretty cool game, and I like it quite a bit, although there's still a lot of pieces, and that's probably my biggest complaint, is that there's just it's a big board with a ton of pieces. I think there's a little few too many pieces, which is why the next game here, number 18, is mini shogi, and I love this. This is way better in my opinion. Mini shogi is a little 5x5 board where you have just a handful of the same pieces from shogi. You have a king, a pawn, a gold, a silver, a bishop, and a rook. No knights, no lancers. That's fine. You have these 5, and the game is still the same. You need to capture your opponent's king. Not capture, you need to, trap your opponent's king. And as you capture your opponent's pieces, you can play them back out and all that. The only difference in that one and this one is there's no longer the, once you break the enemy lines, you upgrade, you promote. You have to now just make it across the board. I will say there are some nuance and specifics on that I never quite understood in either game, because sometimes I place a new piece out and then I move to the end. I think that should make me promote, but it doesn't. So there must be some specifics on like how far they have to move to promote. You can't just put them like at the, place a new one right out next to the edge and then move it across and go bam. In fact, I had one that I kind of did that with and then moved it all the way back across the board for another move, and that caused a promote. So I don't know. I don't know the specific stuff exactly. There are some nuance to it, but mini shogi, super cool. I love it. Not gonna lie, I've kind of looked at getting a mini shogi board because I've now found that I like shogi. Shogi's pretty cool, but I think mini shogi's sort of where it's at for me. Next, we've got Hanafuda. Hanafuda is a Japanese card game. I believe Japanese. Sorry, please forgive me if I'm getting some of the histories wrong on all this. Where all the cards have these beautiful arts all over them and all that. I believe all this came from back when there was a lot of laws and rules about gambling. So they basically came up with a lot of things, different things to try and just, do gambling without having traditional dice and cards and stuff like that. Because those were, banned and illegal and all that. And essentially, I think the pretty cards allowed them to kind of get away with like, no, it's definitely not gambling. We're definitely doing something totally different here. Let's look at these pretty. They're just pretty cards, yeah. And it is hard for people, I guess, to walk by and know exactly what you're doing. Anyway, that's my belief on it. Either way, in this game, I'll be honest, it's fun and all that. I would not be able to play this game without the assist features. Thankfully, the game kind of assists me in like teaching me the different hands you can build, because I've got no idea. There is so much history and tradition with this. The next thing I'm about to go into kind of fits in this as well. I think a lot of old-time Japanese people just had so much time on their hands and they played these games for so long that they made these kind of monsters of complicated set collecting games. It's pretty daunting for someone who's not familiar with it. I'm sure you could eventually learn all the different hands and everything, but there are a lot of variation of different hands and all that you can play and collect and all that. So, again, I'm really glad the game kind of helps you. So, hey, this one kind of matches there. So you sort of click on it and click on that one, and there you go. You've started forming hands. It helps you along with that, makes it really playable. Yeah, I can't quite say the same thing for the next one, Riichi Mahjong. This one, even with assistance, I think is almost unplayable. I know Mahjong tiles are basically just a type of having a bunch of cards or whatever. I think for the most part, I've seen that you can play most card games with Mahjong tiles. This is a very specific thing you're playing, where again, you're trying to build a hand that is like a legal hand that is mostly made of having either pairs or trios, like three of a kinds of stuff, or having like straights and runs of various things. There's a bunch of different suits and all that. It has a little guide will tell you about all the different hands you could make and all that. And honestly, it's just not helpful to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. I'm so sorry if you're a big Mahjong player. I'm not saying anything bad about the game of Mahjong. I think this is a fantastic game. I'm just too dumb to figure it out, and this game isn't helping me learn it. There's just so many hands and stuff to learn. I'll think I'm doing okay, and then it tells me oh, that's not working. So I don't know the nuance and specifics on how to build a good hand in this game. So even with the help, I think it's probably one of the least child-friendly games on here, because at least with Hanafuda, it'll guide you towards what sort of makes sense and all that. It kind of does. But then it's get rid of one. You should get rid of one that you don't have doubles of, or is it right next to another number? And you're like, okay. Whereas in Hanafuda, it'll strictly be hey, what of these two cards matches a card on the table? So make a set. Oh, cool, great. Next we have 21 here. Last card. This is, it's just Uno. There's a few changes to it or whatever. Some changes I remember when I was playing this last card game are, I don't believe wild draw 4s exist in the game. It's got draw 2s and draw 3s. They can stack, which is not a normal rule for Uno. That's a house rule, people. I know that's how you played it growing up as a kid. That's not a normal rule for Uno. That's a normal rule in that new No Mercy Uno. But yeah, in this game, it does let you do the stack. So if I play a draw 2 and you play a draw 2, the next guy's got to draw 4. Sucks for him. Also, if you forget to call out last card in this game, I think you draw up to 5 cards instead of just drawing 2. Yikes. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's just Uno. They just change the cards so it looks different and all that, but it's just Uno. So yeah, it's fun. Next is 32. We got Blackjack. We're halfway to Blackjack and Hookers, guys. Anyway, we got Blackjack on here, and it's nothing to say about that. For some reason, you don't know what Blackjack is. It's just you get dealt out a couple cards, you add them together, you are trying to get as close as you can to 21 without going over. In the game, you'll play through a handful of rounds where each round you bid your like initial ante. There's not like a shared ante we all do. Like I might start this round going, I'm going to put 20 up, and then if I win, then I win 20 from the house, and if I lose, then I give 20 to the house, and then push, whatever we both just keep our stuff. It does have doubling down, which is cool, but otherwise it's just blackjack, guys. We have hit the card section. We're pretty much all the ones from here are all going to be playing card games. Next is Texas Hold'em. Again, for anyone who doesn't know that, it is a form of poker where everyone is dealt 2 cards that they keep secretly in front of them, and then there are 5 cards dealt to the center of the table. And basically those 5 cards are all shared amongst everybody's hand. So everyone has the same 5 cards and then 2 unique cards to their personal hand, and then you bid on who you think made the best hand out of all that. Straight, flush, full house, yada yada. Again, like in blackjack, you go through several turns and you bid each turn and all that. Yeah, it's a good time. Next, we have a game called President. Now, I didn't know anything about this based on name, and I don't know if President is like its most common, well-known name. On here, they just said it's a game played at a lot of parties and drinking in Japan. I did kind of recognize this game, actually, because my family grew up playing it at our drinking parties and stuff, but we called it A-hole. We called it A-hole. Because in the game, you play around trying to get rid of your hand, and the first way to get rid of their hand, they are the president, and then you keep playing until everyone has played out their hand except for one person, and that's sort of your rankings. The reason we play drinking games not is because after each round, where you have your rankings now for the next round, you can ask anyone below you to do anything. So the president is in charge and can make anyone below him do pretty much anything for the most part, within house rule reasons. And the person at the very bottom, the last place person, that's the a-hole. And the a-hole is just everyone's slave, basically, for a turn. They're like, hey, go get me a drink. Hey, why don't you do something silly, get up and do a dance for me. That's the way we kind of play it and mess around with it. Other than all the whole demanding people to do stuff here, it's kind of the same game. There are some differences that caught me off guard. You always have to play a higher card as a general game. Let's say I play a 3, you have to play down a 4 or higher. You can play down multiples, pairs, and 3 of a kinds, but only if someone already started the hand with multiples, which is different than in my game, because in my family's game, playing doubles and triples are just considered higher. So once someone gets all the way to the top, let's say if someone plays down an ace, you can then play a pair, and that just instantly beats it. Not quite in this game. It's if the starting player plays a single down, then you're playing singles until everyone passes, and then for someone playing doubles and triples. It has a few other extra rules, like jokers being wild and 8s always clearing the table, as well as there's some weird rule on like the 3 of spades specifically can counteract the highest thing. Anyway, I've said a lot about this game. It's fun. It's fine. There's a few variations on the rules that you can do for it, but yeah. I had an okay time with it. Next, we've got sevens. In sevens, basically, you are trying to be the first player to play out your whole hand. At the start of the game, you will take all 4 sevens in the deck and place them out on the table. And then on your turn, you can play down a number from your hand, or a card from your hand, that is adjacent to any of the other numbers on the board. So at the start of the game, you'll have to play out 6 and 8s. Sort of like solitaire, it has to be the same suit. So like if I have the 6 of hearts, I can play it out next to the 7 of hearts. But as the game grows, the things will get bigger, and you'll play farther and farther out. So if I have, again, the Jack of clubs and the 10 of clubs on the table, I can play the Jack of clubs. So you're trying to get a player that gets to play out their whole hand first. I actually quite like this one. This one's pretty good. I think there's a fun fair bit of strategy in like finding the right cards to kind of hold out on, because you're only allowed a certain number of passes. If on your turn you can't play anything or don't want to play anything, you pass. But those are kind of like your lives. If you pass too many times, you then are forced to kind of fold, and all of your cards instantly go to the table. Doesn't matter whether the things around them are there or not. It now just makes it way easier to play out cards because all these new cards hit the table. Yeah, you can kind of win just by forcing everyone else to hold out. I think it's pretty cool. I like it. I'll actually probably end up playing this one for real in the real world at some point, not just on video games. And that's all for this row. Let's go to the next row, guys. Starting the fourth row, we have Speed. Speed is a game I was vaguely familiar with before playing on here. I think I've played it a couple times in life and all that. It's just Speed. There's really nothing different about it. You are simply you have two piles in the center of the table. You can play a card that is one higher or one lower than the top card of that stack. That's it. I believe jokers are wild, so you can play them anywhere. If both players pass, neither player has any cards in their hand that can go on top of either of those stacks, then you will stop and flip a new card out on top of each stack and go again. And you go until one player gets rid of all the cards they have. Speed's fun. It's very high energy and all that. I do know the couple times I've played or seen it played in person, you are kind of risking some damage to your cards. I wouldn't recommend playing it with your nice cards by any means. Grab the cheap ones for that, because you are, and it's definitely a way you can end up with some really bent up cards and everything. The video game version is a little less hectic and fast paced, because you are kind of stuck, moving a cursor around a screen, basically, and grab this, move there, and all that. I've also seen some people slam their hands pretty hard together in the real game. But yeah, it's Speed. It's fun. Let's go on. Next, we've got matching. There's nothing such as that. It's just matching. You flip on some cards, and then you try and find the matching pairs to clear them. The one thing I do actually like about this one, I don't know if this is it certainly is something you can do in the normal version of the game, and I think I might do it going forward if I ever play matching, which I really never do, is you can do the basic find a matching pair, or you can make it to where you have to find a matching 4. I like that. That's kind of cool. That makes it a good bit harder. That was the only way that me and my wife really cared to play matching. Once we saw that was awesome, ooh, yeah, let's do that, because that makes it so much harder than just remembering where 2 of them are. So that's cool. But otherwise, it's matching, guys. Next, we've got War. You guys probably know War. If you don't, 2 players flip over a card. The higher card wins. In this one, you have sort of 3 cards on the table to pick between, but you're not looking at them. They're just 3 face-down cards, and you pick one, and it goes forward, and then you just play War. Whoever has the winning one wins, and they collect the cards, or collects the most wins. There's nothing really to say about it. It's War. I wish it allowed me for some variation or something. I wish there was just some choice. I personally hate War because of the whole just random flip it over. It's very much a kid's game. You shuffled it up, and you've winners decided, basically. I wish there was some choice, especially if you're going to give us, the 3 cards. I know it doesn't only work when the shared screen, but I wish there was a version on, because you can basically play this when every player has their own. Not every player needs to have this game. There is a free guest pass you can get, where as long as one person has purchased this game, anyone else playing with him just needs the free guest pass, and then you guys can all play these games together. So that's cool, like that. In those situations, I wish it would let me look at the 3 cards I had and choose which one I'm putting forward. Just a little choice. Otherwise, I can all play the same. That'd be fine. Next, there is one called Takoyaki. So this is kind of similar, vaguely-ish, to golf, if you've played that. Just in that you've got a grid. Can we get past this word stuff and show me a picture so I can show this? You have this grid of face-down cards, and then on your turn, you'll draw a card and end up adding it to it, possibly. This is another one, though, where it's actually you're not really playing the game. There's very minor choice. We'll get there in a sec. This little grid of 10 is simply that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you draw a number of a card that you have not flipped over yet, so you draw your 5, you will then place it in the 5 slot and pick up that card. And then if that card happens to also be a number that you haven't played yet, let's say I pick up the 5 and it's an 8, and my 8 is still also a face down card, then I can play my 8. And it can chain into several until you pick up a card that you can't play. So then, let's say I pick up the card in my 8 slot and it's a 5 again. Well, I've already got a 5, so my turn's over. Face cards do nothing. Face cards just end your turn. The only thing that happens other than hoping you draw the right one and flip them over, other than being just a predetermined shuffle winner, are jokers or wild. So if you happen to draw or flip over a joker, you can place those anywhere. And that is the only choice you're ever making in that game. I do like the jokers. The jokers actually make the game at least somewhat playable. But for the most part, this is very much a kid's game. Kids don't mind kind of playing like a little kid game. They don't mind playing a game where it's mostly playing itself, and it really is mostly playing itself. I wish the face cards did something. If the face cards had more action in the game and weren't just like, oh, your turn's over, then maybe that could add a little more choice and control into the game, and that would probably make this a game I really like. But as of right now, I have no reason to play Takoyaki again, because it's just sort of shuffled and you have your winner. This is honestly one of the last like actual tabletop games we're about to go over here. It is called Pig's Tail. This is another card game that I was not familiar with at all before this. Basically, you take the cards and they are going to be like spread out on the table, almost Circle of Death, Ring of Fire style if you're someone who plays drinking games and stuff. And on your turn, you simply pick a card and flip it out to the center of the table, and then your opponent will do the same. The only thing you're trying to avoid here is you're trying to flip out a card that is the same suit as the top of the pile. I flipped out a Jack of Hearts, and then you flip out a Two of Hearts. Sucks for you. You now have to take all the cards in the center of the table and take them into your hand. At the end of the game, you want to be the player that has the fewest cards in hand. You don't want to be holding any of the cards. Now, it's not just total luck and just, flip over a random card and hope you don't flip over the same suit. There is actually a little bit of strategy and control here, because once you have taken those cards into your hand, instead of drawing a card from the pig's tail, from the cards face down the table, you can actually play a card from your hand to the center pile. You can play those back out, which can hopefully end up in a situation where your opponent gets stuck with all those cards that you just fed out of your hand before they got unlucky enough to flip out a correct one. Also, since you can kind of count the cards and all that, like I can see that, hey, I've taken most of the clubs because they're almost all in my hand, but I only have like 2 hearts, so I know most of the cards left on the table are probably hearts. So if I play hearts out, there's a good chance that my opponent is going to get stuck with these cards. So there actually is a little bit of thought and strategy and choice in this game, which takes it from a game that easily little kids can just play by just sort of grabbing and hoping for the best, but also a game that as an adult, even though they just call it a game of luck and chance, I don't think there is. I think there is at least a little bit of thinking involved to it, which makes it a pretty alright game. I actually don't mind this game at all. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably add some drinking rules to it. This video is making me seem like an alcoholic, guys. I swear I'm not. I promise. But like I said, that's kind of the end of like the tabletop games for the most part. There's like 3 games coming up that are technically, and 1 or 2 you can kind of argue. But yeah, we're only at 30, so I guess let's kind of finish up this roll, because the next one here is golf. Now, it is sort of like, I guess, a tabletop-ish version of golf and the sort of face-down thing. I have played some little golf, like, desk games or whatever and all that, and I've seen various, like, flick things. So I guess you could call it something kind of like that. But yeah, it's not really a tabletop game anymore. We are now just playing some sort of top-down approximation of golf. The next one is billiards. It's pool. This is one of the ones I think has, I shouldn't say the most, but it has 2 distinctly different versions of play. You can play 9-ball or 8-ball, which are 2 different games to play, for sure. That's one thing I think the game as a whole is kind of lacking, is variations on stuff. There are some games that have a lot of, this rule, that rule, yes or no's, on and off a few times. But this is like one of the only ones where I can think of that has like a straight different game mode. Because again, 9-ball and 8-ball are different games. So this is the first time that's really happened. That's cool. It's billiards, guys. Reel back, knock it in. Definitely something you might find in a game room, but certainly not a tabletop game. Next we have bowling. Yeah, we're sort of at the section where it seems like they just took some mini games from old Wii Play and Wii Sports and stuff, and we're like, we'll just toss them onto here. It's bowling. You can do like physical controls, motion controls with it, and they're not great. Honestly, the motion controls are kind of suck. Otherwise, if you're playing on your own on the screen like this, you can slide your finger to do it. Again, it's okay. It's bowling. It's fine enough to have. If you have the game, I'll certainly play the motion control version again, but it certainly does not feel as good as the Wii Sports stuff, or I think Switch Sports even. It just doesn't quite have that feel to it. And last for this row, we've got darts. This one does have a few different versions you can play. You can play just count up, or some ones where you're trying to like hit 301, 501, such like that. Again, it's got motion controls. I haven't tried the motion controls out on this one. Otherwise, it's finger flicks. It's darts. It's fine. Again, the controls are whatever. The motion controls might be better on this one. I don't know because I haven't tried that yet. Sorry. And that's all for this row. Let's go on to the next one. Man, I can't believe you guys are really still here just listening to me ramble. But yeah, let's start the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th row here with game 35, Carom. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to say that. I've always heard Carom sort of called... Oh, I backed up. Don't know. Wait. I've always heard it referred to as sort of Crokinole meets pool. Yes? But I disagree. I've played Carom a couple times. I know there's a lot of people who really love it. I really don't like it because I don't like the restrictiveness of the shoot lines. So in the game, you are flicking a puck at a bunch of other pucks, and you are trying to knock in all of your pucks, but before you knock in all of your pucks, you have to knock in this red one in the center first. At some point, you have to knock that in. Because if you knock in all your pucks without knocking in that red center one, the queen one, I think they call it, then you lose. I think also, once you make it in, though, you then have to make in one of yours right after, or it doesn't count. So it stays on the board. It's a pretty, decent... It's as good a representation of Carom as billiards has on here and all that. My problem with Carom is I don't want this weird like shoot line you have to go to and everything and then aim and flick. I just want actual disc pool. I discovered a few years back there's a gentleman made a game called Karuka, which is just that. I've actually been really wanting to get a board for a while because it literally is just Crokinole meets pool. You flick it. It's got a bunch more holes than just the 4 holes on Carom, and then you literally just do billiard stuff and all that. Probably because I just want a billiards table, but I can't fit one in my house. But I can fit a Karuka board. But anyway, yeah. This one's sort of a tabletop game. You do need to place it on a table, so it's kind of the last tabletop game on this list. But yeah, it's Carom. It's fine. Again, it's just not for me. I'm sure, I know a lot of people love Carom, and I am not yucking your yums by anything. It's just not a me thing. I don't like the shoot line. Now we're going to enter the toy section, where the next several of them are all just a toy something. Like, first we've got toy tennis. It's just moving your piece around a board on these little slots here, and swinging your thing and playing tennis. It's fine. Not as good as, like, just playing Wii Sports Tennis. There's toy soccer, where you've got these little lanes here and all these little pieces that move up and down them and spin and kick, and you can move your goalie. It's fine. There's toy curling. I think this is the best one. You just pull your spring back, shoot your pucks, and at the end of the game, whoever has the single closest piece wins. I think it's a little too simple. I kind of wish there was a little more like point space to it, like regular curling. Whoever's the closest, points, and then any other ones there. So I wish it was more like normal curling or shuffleboard or whatever, instead of just, do you have the closest one? Then you win! So that's kind of whatever. But otherwise, yeah, it's fine. Next, we've got toy boxing, where you've got 2 little toy guys here that are on this little track, and you can either block or punch, and you're trying to, knock them off the edge, or just be furthest their direction when the time runs out. Yeah, that's pretty good. Then there's toy baseball. I don't like this one. I don't like it at all, really. Even playing a short game, it took too damn long. And honestly, against a computer, I was able to do really well. Against a normal human person, hitting the baseball felt almost impossible. My wife and I did a full 9-inning game. Big mistake. That took forever and a half, even with most innings literally being out, 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 switch, out, 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 switch. Even that seemed to take forever. because neither of us could barely hit it. I got lucky and got like 3 points at some point, and then my wife, a couple of days later, managed to get a point or two, and then it ended. So it's fine. Like, as the person control the pitching, you can control kind of how fast you hit the ball, and then there's a few variations on like curveball splitter, or where it like drops low or something like that. It's fine. I don't like it. Next, we've got air hockey. It's air hockey, guys. I don't know if there's motion controls for this one. All the ones I know are touching the little guys and moving around. I'm sure at the very least there's controller ones where I could use my joystick. That might be better. I didn't really like the touching your finger one. That kind of sucked. Didn't care for that. But yeah, it's air hockey. Knock the pucks in their win. Next, we've got slot cars. Slot cars I like. Slot cars is fun. I remember having some of these when I was a kid and all that. This is also one of the games that works in mosaic mode. Slot cars, I think the next one, and a few of those. So in mosaic mode, basically if you take multiple switches and attach them together, they'll recognize and read, and it'll make a board or racetrack or whatever the games it kind of works with go across multiple screens. I don't have another switch right here right now. I have an iPad here. So we'll show for example. So like I could like attach 2 switches like this, and then it would make sort of a racetrack going around this weird little L shape or whatever. I think that's super cool. I know they did some of this on like Super Mario Party and all that. I've never gotten to experience a lot of the mosaic games and all that you can do with the Switch, but it is a super cool feature, which at this point, we've got the Switches to do. We own a Switch 2 and 2 Switch 1, so we could really do that. We really should. I should do that. But yeah, it's slot cars. You just control your speed. You don't be going too fast around the corners or they'll fly out. And you race. It's cool. There's a few racetracks built in here initially. Then again, you can do mosaic mode for more. Next is fishing. Yeah, it's fishing. It's another mosaic mode one. You can end up attaching a few together, and that'll sort of it'll make a creek, a river flowing through all of them. That's neat. But yeah, you just sort of jump around between some predetermined like throw spots, aim a little bit and throw your rod in, and wait for a fish to grab on. You can see their little shadows, so it's not like it's a total guess. Like hopefully you can see it. You can see their shadows in the water, so you kind of aim for them, and you play for a certain amount of time. Whoever catches the biggest, not singular biggest fish, but the most in weight amount of fish at the end wins. And that was game 43. That was the end of row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I'm gonna change hats. We're gonna go into the last row, guys. Obviously, with fishing, we went completely beyond the terms of tabletop games by any sense of the imagination. I mean, we're not talking about, that kid game fish where you're like dipping your little magnetic rod into the little mouths that, motorized. That one, it's fun. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actual fishing at this point. So we are totally beyond the bounds of tabletop. And the next few are right along with that, because we start the next row, game 44, Battle Tanks. I remember this one again. This like it seems like a lot of these at the end here are just games they were kind of doing slightly updated versions of from some mini games back on the Wii. I remember Wii Play had this game on it. Basically, this is just sort of an updated version. You just control these little tanks around, and you're trying to shoot your opponent's tanks. That's it. Battle Tanks. The next one is Team Tanks. It's the same game, but now instead of you fighting an opponent, you are now instead working together with another player to fight a bunch of automated tanks. So yeah, you're technically working together to beat the bad guys. It's a cooperative version of it. Yeah, their tanks moving around. They have like a straight shot that can kind of bounce off some walls, or a big lob shot that can kind of shoot over some walls. I guess you could say that they talk about RC cars, so maybe that's tabletop related. And then we've got 46, Shooting Gallery. Again, this is just directly from Wii Play. You just move your cursor around and you try and shoot all the targets on the screen. There's some worth various positive points, pluses, plus ones or plus threes. There's some negative ones you want to avoid, and then there'll be like some UFOs that fly in the background that are worth some more points for shooting them and all that. And it also has like a train regularly go by with a bunch of targets on shoot. It's a shooting game, guys. We are far past tabletop games. What are we doing here? I don't make videos about video games. I make videos about board games. We're not talking about board games anymore. We're talking about shooting gallery. What is happening? Anyway, so the next game is called 6 Ball Puzzle. It's sort of a Tetris-ish game. They literally go, is this a stuff falling game? Yeah, it is. It has these 3 balls, these 3 colored marbles here that'll drop down, and when they hit the thing, they'll kind of like flatten out a little bit if they can. And if you're trying to get 6 of the same color touching, when 6 of the same color touch, they will clear away, and then the whole puzzle, the whole thing, the whole structure you built will sort of, collapse in a little bit and fill in those gaps and all that. But yeah, you're just trying to get 6 of the same color touching, and I think as they clear away over here, I think it drops some on your opponent too to make it harder. If you pass the line, you lose. So yeah, this is a Puyo Puyo, Tetris. In that line, again, this is a stuff falling game. It's fun. It's not a tabletop game, but yeah. And now we're going to hit the last semblance of tabletop gaming here with number 48, Sliding Puzzle. It is not a traditional sliding puzzle in the sense of like get all these numbers in a certain order, or hey, here's a picture that got all jumbled up, so like solve the picture. No, in sliding puzzle, you have this motorized animal that is moving down the tracks, and you need to slide these things around so that they follow the tracks in a way that collects these little crystals here. This is another game I'm horrible at, apparently. I have not successfully beaten the turtle level, much less the rabbit level, which makes them go even faster. You can sort of some cool things where instead of sliding 1 block at a time, you can slide like whole rows at a time. Yeah. Again, I'm really bad at this. It's fun enough, but it is extremely frustrating in that I'm horribly bad. The little turtle or rabbit are constantly moving forward. If they ever hit an edge or a wall and they don't have anything to go to, yeah, they'll fall over like that, so you lose. That's the game. So you're trying to keep them moving while also collecting stuff. I even trapped one in a loop one time and thought that would give me the time to figure out how to move everything around and collect the stuff. It didn't. I actually trapped it in a circle multiple times. I have yet to figure out how to beat this game. I'm apparently really bad at it. This started the solitaire section, the solo. All these games, the next few games, are single-player experiences. They're not meant to be played multiplayer. They don't even have multiplayer options. Next one, we have Mahjong Solitaire. This is what most of us dumb Americans actually think of when we think of Mahjong, at least the ones my age or older, because we probably all remember the Mahjong game on our old Windows computers, where you had this big stack up of tiles and you tried to find matching ones to clear it all away. That's all this is. This is Mahjong Solitaire. There's a bunch of different shapes you could set up as in various difficulty levels. You just try and clear them all away. That's it. And it's neat. I like this one a lot. This is a lot of fun. I like Mahjong Solitaire. And they they talk about this, how this isn't Mahjong, but it's a fun little solitaire thing that's grown popularity because of the old old Windows computers and all that. This is the inspiration for one of our games we're working on here at the Barron's Game Room called Mahjong Poker, which is not Mahjong in any way. It is simply tiles with cards on them stacked up in that old pyramid way from that old Mahjong Solitaire game. All right, move on. Next we have Klondike Solitaire. Again, the game we've probably all played on our phones or computers back in the day. It's just solitaire. Get all the stacks put up, But the last one being Spider Solitaire. Spider Solitaire is similar. You're trying to get all the stuff put away, but you're trying to make sets from ace to king. So they're all the same suits in this one. There's no different suits. And there's several different stacks, and if you can't move anything around, you hit deal, and then it deals 1 new card on top of every stack. Yeah, it's fine. I ended up having some fun with that. I never played. I think Spider Solitaire was around on all those same old computers when I was growing up, but I was too dumb to understand what was going on, so I never played it. I always played just regular Solitaire, or Klondike Solitaire. I still think I like Klondike Solitaire a little better. Spider Solitaire was fun. And hey, that's 51 games, but you may have noticed that there's still another icon here. That's because after the 51 games, there's just piano. It's a piano. That's it. I think it works in Mosaic too. Not that I can attach like weirdly, but if I can attach several side to side and have a larger piano to play on, but I think someone did a test demo with this and was like, where else are we going to put piano? I don't know. Throw it in the 51 games. Yeah. That's 51 games plus a piano, a multiplayer system, and a guide that doesn't do anything. Let me change hats again, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the game. I cannot believe you guys are still here. Holy crap, what is wrong with you people? I swear, you guys are some kind of masochist or something to stick around this long watching me ramble about public domain board games on a video game. What is happening right now? Anyway, so my thoughts overall. It successfully does the thing that pretty much all video game board games do. It does condense a bunch of games into one place. So, sorry, my glasses are still weird. So it does allow you to travel around with a lot of games easily and all that. It is something you can easily carry around anywhere you could fit your Switch and play a bunch of these as you go out and about. So yeah, like portability-wise, extra games access, nailed it. Giving you little assist features or helping you play games you've never played before or don't quite know the rules to. Success. It does all that well. Giving you online play, so you don't have to play against. Have to have people in person to play it. I know that's always one of the biggest, downsides to tabletop gaming as a whole. As much as I love the in-personness of tabletop gaming, that is one thing that I adore about tabletop gaming. Yeah, it means you have to get other people to show up to where you are to play games. So online feature is always a blessing for anyone that wants to, play games more often than they can have friends over. All that stuff, it does well and everything. Again, some of the assist stuff doesn't seem to help, but that might be because the games themselves are so complicated that it's kind of hard to help on that front. So yeah, I think all that stuff, it does fine. There is some annoyance in that guest pass I mentioned is kind of necessary for a lot of stuff. There are a lot of games on here. A few more than I think should be. It requires you to all be playing on different systems. So you'll have to do online or have to have guest pass or something like that. So you all can play the game. Anything where you have to have like secret information, secret hands, and all that. You're not playing Last Card, the Uno game, all on the same screen. So anything where there's like secret information to be had, you all have to have your own Switch, which means you're not playing this around the TV. You're all kind of sitting around the living room or around a table all holding your own Switch and playing. Which kind of brings back in the in-person nature of tabletop gaming. So that's sort of a positive and negative, I guess. It is good that the guest pass is free and all that. As far as all the games collected on here, I think I made it pretty clear the games I really liked, the games I really didn't like. I think for little kids overall, this is a great thing. This is a great way to introduce young kids to a lot of games and give them lots of assistance. There's lots of how to plays and training. Even some of the more complicated ones literally do test games where it's like, hey, here's a learn to play game. Where it sort of doesn't just give you the information. It steps you through like, hey, let's move a knight now and see how that works. And let's talk about castling and so on. So it sort of teaches you the mechanics that you play on a few of them. And that's great. For little kids, I think I absolutely just agree that this is good for little kids because some of the games I think just don't work for little kids. I mean, sorry, don't work for adults. Some of the games I think are like Hare and Hounds. I think it's really only a little kids game, and Takoyaki only a little kids game. But as a whole, great for little kids. As an adult, yeah, I think there's plenty of games on here that an adult will like and have fun with. You're probably not going to be playing Takoyaki or maybe Pig's Tail War for sure. An adult's really not going to play that. And maybe I'm just wrong, but it seems like I wouldn't understand why I would play Hare and Hounds either. Anyway, all that stuff's successful. As far as board games are concerned, most of them are recreated very well. They did a lot of creating the sounds and all that, the feel of all of it and everything. I'm always going to give any negative to board games because whereas I wanted to buy this game, I think I was wanting to buy it though just because I was having a big kind of urge and itch to play something. I've been very busy with a play I'm doing with the theater lately, and my wife has been very busy with a play she's in with the theater lately. Plus, we've got the new baby. So we haven't had any time, recreational time, to do something. I don't really remember the last time we had friends over for a game night. So it's just been a long time since I've gotten to really play a board game. And I think that's why I was having such a craving for, hey, maybe I should finally buy that Clubhouse Games thing. And I did. And I'm glad I bought it. I've had a fun enough time with it. But playing it immediately made me go, yeah, like, this is a good time. But I always remember when I played video game board games, why I like tabletop in-person stuff. I like being with people, even when playing it with people in person anyways. It's just holding pieces, physically holding stuff is so much better to me. I love the feel of cards and dice and pieces in my hand. No amount of recreating the noise is going to be the same as actually having that good clack and placing a piece down on the table on a board. So that's always going to be a negative knock for me. But it's a ton of games, not all board games. I really wish they had gone a little more board games. I also really wish they allowed for a little more customization for some of these games. Some of these games only gave you a few like options, and some of them I couldn't even really understand why like that was the option. I'm trying to think. I think it was the gambling ones maybe, where you had to play like 3 or 5 or 10 rounds, and I'm like, why can't I choose exactly how many rounds I'm playing? It doesn't seem to really matter. What's the point? That President was another one where you just play rounds, and the only thing that matters is whoever wins in the final round. So all the other rounds kind of felt useless. I don't really see why playing not more than a couple rounds. There is a little thing between rounds on that one on like, depending on your ranking, depends on what cards you have to give to other players. So yeah, I wish there was a little more control of it. One thing I really wish there was more in this game, this is my biggest just negative for this game, is there's like nothing unlockable in this game. I really don't know why there's so little unlockables in this game. The only things there are to unlock in the entire game are computer difficulty levels, which only go up. Easy level doesn't exist. I wish easy level was an option just because, again, I think this is a really good game for kids. And I think it's not fair to give that easy option to younger kids and all that. Although most of the time, the normal is pretty easy to beat. Again, I guess for an adult, except for in games where I told you I'm apparently just an idiot because I couldn't even beat the normal in Renegade. And it was several tries to beat the one in 4 in a row. But yeah, I wish easy was an option. Otherwise, it's normal. And then if you beat them in solo mode on that level, you unlock the next level up. So then hard, and then something else, and then impossible. You can unlock difficulty levels, and other than that, the only thing you can unlock is you can unlock a Mario theme for the cards in the game. So any of the games you're playing with playing cards, you can unlock a Mario theming for. You can unlock a Mario theme for matching, where they do away with the card aesthetic as a whole, and now they're just like Mario pictures instead of, being like, an Ace of Spades that also has a Mario on it, whatever. And then you can unlock a Mario theme for the Hanafuda cards. I'm certain that is all you can unlock in the entire game, is a few card skins for different games. You unlock the end credits when you play all the games at least once. That's it. I just don't know why there's so little. I don't know why there wasn't more like cosmetic options like that. I wish there was a few more options in some of the games. I wish there was an easy mode for younger kids. And why can I only unlock Mario? You couldn't have thrown in some other Nintendo franchises. I couldn't have unlocked some Pokemon stuff or just some more Nintendo characters as a whole. Heck, let's leave Nintendo out of it. And why can't I just have a few different options for the way my cards look? I have to have either a red back normal playing card, or I have to have a Mario playing card. There wasn't a few options of giving me the same things, but the freaking cards have blue backs or green backs or whatever. I don't know. It's not a big thing. It's a totally nothing thing, but that's why it feels annoying that it's not there. The number of games I've played that have games like this on there that have various cosmetic options, for this just to go, yeah, play it normal or play it with Mario. That's what you get. I was like, oh, like it felt really unsatisfying to be playing through all the games solo, other than getting a little check mark or medal next to each one showing that I've completed, at least played it or won it. Just wasn't really getting anything. There wasn't a point. I'd unlock new guides throughout the game. The guides, again, seem totally worthless. I don't know what the point of them are. It's just, hey, I'm a guy that likes those toy games. Well, I'm a guy that likes fast-paced games. Well, I'm a guy that likes really thinky games. I don't care. I don't care. What's the point of that? Anyway, God, again, what is wrong with me, you, all of us? Why are we still here? Let's end this video. Clubhouse 51 games. It's $40, I think, is how much I paid for it digitally. And I think even when I looked for it physically, it's about the same price. Nintendo games really don't drop in price anymore and all that. Is it worth it? I'll say yeah. I mean, like, again, you think you're getting 51 games for $40. Any of these games is worth $1. And you're just sort of getting them all together as a whole. Yeah, the online fact, even though I don't do online stuff or whatever, the portability fact, sure. All that's totally fine. Oh, sorry, one last way. Is they only let you do, when you play the game on the tablet, you can either do touch controls for some of them, or some you have to do where everyone has their own controller, and it makes you have your own controllers. You can't do passive play controller, which that seems weird to me and unnecessary. And even games where it totally should still work for touch play, they don't allow it at 3 and 4 players. At 3 and 4 players, you have to go to Joy-Con play. So like Chinese checkers has to be Joy-Con play, and I don't really understand why. Let me touch the marble I want and touch where I want it to go. What's the big deal with that? Yeah, $40. It's probably worth it. If you find it on sale, I'll say it's definitely worth it. It does teach you how to play all the games, all the yada yadas. Overall, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, we'll say it's Baron approved. But I'll be honest, it's leaning a little middling. It's a good time. There are really good stuff. There's definitely ones that I play regularly, and there's definitely some that I might be buying for my own. But also, there's several that you could just probably look up rules for online and learn to play, like a lot of the card games. We'll say approve. We'll say approve. We made it long enough. Go home. What are you doing here? The credits are rolling. Leave. Stop. Scroll. Bye.